Hello everyone, hope you are having a wonderful day, and today guys I got a brand new rogue build coming at you, my best Noxious Ice rogue build for season 2. Now this build is going to be for people that want to spice up their poison build a little bit by throwing in some extra elements in there to make it a little bit cooler, because I know just running poison can be a little bit boring. Now this is my first time doing a poison build, so please bear with me. I might get some things wrong because I know there's a lot of damage bonuses that don't actually work with poison, so I'm pretty sure I've got most things covered, but if there is anything I have missed, could you please let me know in the comment section below? That'd be greatly appreciated. So what makes this build so good, Aussie, huh? Why is the Noxious Ice build so good for Rogue in Season 2? Well, we're able to fly through high nightmare dungeons. T100 is going to be an absolute breeze if you set this build up the same way I have. We're also able to demolish all of the new bosses inside of the game. I don't think you're going to have any issue with any of the bosses, Duriel, Beast in the Ice. I haven't actually done Lilith yet, but so I don't think you're going to have no issues destroying any of the new bosses that they had added in with Season 2. We're able to freeze and CC enemies instantly, and we can spread this CC very effectively. We have insane attack speed that has been amplified with the Vampiric Powers we have gotten inside of the new season. We're very defensive, which is great for staying alive in higher nightmare dungeons and doing all of those uber bosses. We are utilizing 7 skills as well, which just makes us a little bit more defensive. And most of all, above everything else, this build is really fun to play. Now moving on over to our skills, guys. Now first up, for our basic skill, we are going to be using Puncture. Puncture is just one of the best basic skills a rogue has at its disposal. We are using Twisting Blades. Twisting Blades is king still in season 2, so we are still running Twisting Blades. I would like to do a penetrating shot build as well, like I did in season 1, but for now we are still using Twisting Blades. I am using Shadow Step. Shadow Step is going to be our unstoppable proc. It is also going to let us unleash all our stored souls, which does insane AoE damage when you build into it. Now next skill, we are using Poison Trap. Poison Trap is going to be good. We're going to be able to get CC, and we're also going to be able to get our imbuement back off cooldown. And then for our imbuements, guys, we are running 2 imbuements. We are going to be running Shadow Imbuement. This is going to be really good to increase our poison damage, and then we are also running Poison Imbuement, because Poison Imbuement is just absolutely absurd this season, especially with the way the damage now works. And like I said, we are running 7 skills, so the 7th skill that we are using is going to be Dark Shroud. Now moving on over to the skill tree, guys, I will leave a max roll build planner pinned in the comment section down below, so you guys can just go check that. Also be in the description, but I feel like you guys are probably going to see it in the comment section first, so I will leave that there. I'm pretty sure most people are going to know how a rogue skill tree works, so all of this information will be over there. It's going to save me a hell of a lot of time explaining this all again. There's only really a few things that sort of have changed from season 1 to season 2. So Puncture is still set up exactly the same. We're still taking enhanced puncture and fundamental puncture. Now with Twisting Blades, you want to put 5 points here, and we are still taking improved Twisting Blades, which lets us daze the enemies when we hit them. I put 3 points in the Sturdy. You no longer need to put points in the Siphoning Strikes. This is because we have Vampiric Powers that can do the exact same thing for less restrictions. I'm maxing out Weapon Mastery. I have Shadow Step. I have taken Discipline Shadow Step. This is when we hit an enemy that hasn't been hit with Shadow Step, we get the cooldown of Shadow Step is reduced by 3 seconds. This is great, so we only really have like a 4-second downtime on our Shadow Step. I've maxed out Concussive because we are able to knock down enemies with Poison Trap, and I have also put 2 points into Tri Attacks because we are still dazing enemies with Twisting Blades, so if we critically strike them, they will also get knocked down, which then will help with Concussive. In the Subterfuge section, Poison Trap, we have Enhanced Poison Trap. This is how we're going to knock down enemies. And then I have taken Countering Poison Trap. This is going to give us a 30% chance to instantly reset our imbuement cooldowns, which is fantastic. We're going to get Poison and Shadow back. The main reason I want to use this is to get the Shadow imbuement back, and I'll talk about that in a second. I have 1 point into Dark Shroud. I have another 4 points on here from my pants. And we are going all the way into Subverting Dark Shroud. This is going to give us increased movement speed. Now with the Vampiric Powers, movement speed converts into attack speed, which is huge. We are still maxing out Exploit, and we are still maxing out Malice. Now for the imbuement section, guys, we have Shadow Imbuement, and we have Enhanced Shadow Imbuement, and then I've now taken Mixed Shadow Imbuement instead of Blended Shadow Imbuement, because we can make enemies vulnerable through infecting them with the Vampiric Curse. So I've taken Mixed Shadow Imbuement, which lets our non-physical damage do 12% times increased damage if they're affected by Shadow Imbuement, which is going to then increase, I hope, our souls. I'm pretty sure they scale off non-physical damage. I could be wrong there. Most importantly, it's going to help our poison damage do 12% times increased damage. So this is going to help increase our dot potential of our poison. Now I have put 1 point in the Shadow Crash. This is so we can get to consuming shadows. You're going to want to put 2 points here. This is going to be our main energy generator when we kill enemies with shadow damage. We're obviously taking poison imbue, and we are taking blended poison imbue, which is when we critically strike, we're going to deal 75 times increased poison damage. We are maxing out precision imbuement, and then of course one of the best damage multipliers that the rogue has is frigid finesse. I do have another 3 points from my necklace, giving us an absolute absurd damage bonus to frozen and chilled enemies. This is going to be really good because, spoiler alert, I am running one unique in this build, and it is the Frostburn glove. So we're able to freeze enemies pretty much instantly nearly all the time, especially with our attack speed. So frigid finesse's damage bonus is nearly up almost 100% of the time. Moving on down into the ultimate section, we are putting 2 points into trap mastery now. This is to give us more critical strike chance when enemies affected by poison trap, as long as they're vulnerable or crowd controlled. We have 1 point into adrenaline rush, so we can put 3 points into haste. So now moving on to over to the key passive, and this is kind of where there's something to actually talk about. Apparently everyone at Blizzard, they all got together and they were like, hey, you know that key passive that every rogue likes using, close quarter combat? You know, I just don't think that's strong enough. I don't know why everyone's running it. It's just not really that good. So how about we just make it stronger? And that's what they've gone and done now. That's exactly what they've gone and done. They've completely buffed close quarter combat inside of Season 2 now, because it scales off your max amount of crowd control damage instead of just giving you a 30% time. So now we get 40% times of all of our crowd control damage that we are stacking off gear, Paragon Board, all that good stuff. This all now contributes to close quarter combat's bonus damage increase, which is multiplicative. It is absolutely absurd. So the more crowd control damage you're stacking, the more damage output you're going to have against crowd control targets. Close quarter combat is absolutely insane now. I can't believe they actually buffed this. They did also do the same with Victimize. Victimize still doesn't feel that great. It is better, not the best, but it is a lot better now. But yeah, now close quarter combat, it is even more meta now to take close quarter combat than it was before. Moving on over to the specializations, we are still running combo points, nothing has changed there, and we are still running inner sight when we go into the boss fight, so nothing has changed there either. So combo points is still king for just running through dungeon. Inner sight is definitely still the way to go if you want to take down bosses. So now moving on over to my gear pieces. Again, I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys with me explaining how every little aspect works. I feel like by now in Season 2, most people probably have a rough understanding of how the aspects work and how Rogue works and how other characters work. So I'm just going to basically show you what I have and then talk about the stuff that's kind of important. So first up, for my helmet, we do have Shared Misery. Shared Misery is fantastic for spreading CC. On the chest, we do have Disobedience. For my gloves, I explained in the skill tree section that I am running the Frostburn gloves. This is just going to give us a lucky hit chance to instantly freeze enemies for 2 seconds. This is really good in Season 2 now because they did change some of the affixes, and also because we have a lot more attack speed, we can get a lot more lucky hit chances to happen, which means we can freeze the enemies almost all the time. We can nearly almost always have enemies frozen. Even though we're not taking +4 twisting blades, the frozen damage and the frozen damage multipliers makes up for not having that extra +4 in twisting blade. We do have might on our pants. I am running the Noxious Ice aspect on my boots. For the crossbow, I am running the accelerating aspect here. Nothing's changed there. For the amulet, still running the Umbrious aspect. This is how we're able to get Dark Shroud out for free, and we can keep it out really easily now, again with that extra attack speed from the Vampiric Powers. I've got Blade Dancer on my ring. I also have Pestilent points on my ring. I've got Corruption on my dagger, and then I've also got Bursting Venoms on my other dagger. Now that the damage formula has changed inside Season 2, we're no longer needing swords as rogue. Thank fuck for that. I felt like an absolute idiot running around with a rogue with 2 swords. So now daggers seem to be the way to go, because that damage to close enemies is much better than critical strike damage, because it's all going into the same additive bucket, so you might as well take the better additive stats, the ones that are always going to be active all the time, and damage to close enemies is always going to be active. Also, another thing to note as well is resistances finally got fixed in Season 2, hallelujah! So now you do want to try and cap out on resistances, especially if you are trying to do high level content. You will immediately notice that resistances play a massive part now. When you do have the max out, it makes the game easier. If you do not have the max out and you're trying to run high-end content, you're gonna fucking know about it. Most of the enemies that are using elements will slap you. They will absolutely slap you, especially poison. So the best way to try and cap out on your resistances now is you need to start taking resistances on your bits of gear. I've got poison here. I also have lightning on my pants, and I have fire on my boots. And then my gems that I've now put into my jewelry, what I'm missing. I have a poison gem here just to cap out on the poison with my helmet. I have cold here. I'm also taking cold resistant inside my Paragon board. And I have shadow here, and I'm also taking a bit of shadow inside my Paragon board, which helps get it up to 70. The only one I'm lacking is lightning, and all I need for lightning is just to get a better roll on my pants. I've got kind of a mid roll for lightning resistance here, and then I'd be sweet. All I need is another 3%. I've just got really unlucky there. Also for the weapons, make sure you put damage over time gems in there as well. Again, the critical strike damage ones and all that kind of stuff aren't as good as what they were in season 1. Damage over, they're still good if you're not using poison builds, but because we are using a poison build, damage over time is going to be the better gem to put into your weapons now. Another thing to note too is make sure you take as much armor as possible. The armor affixes did get buffed again. They nerfed it and they rebuffed it for season 2. So you're able to stack a lot of armor. When you're trying to do high-end content, I'd make sure you have at least 8k plus, especially being rogue. More the better, but I feel like 8k is a good benchmark that if you're a good enough player, you're probably going to get through a lot of the content without too much drama. Now, moving on over to the Vampiric Powers, guys. I gotta say, I'm thoroughly impressed with the Vampiric Powers this season compared to season 1's Malignant Heart. They were fucking dog shit, man. I hated that mechanic altogether. There wasn't enough. The way it worked was just terrible. This is it. This is good. This is much better. This is a good step in the right direction. And then on top of that, all the Vampiric Powers just felt good. They just feel strong, offer some good diversity into a lot of builds. I think it's great. I really think it's great. But moving on over to the Vampiric Powers, I'm actually taking, I'm running Ravenous. I think we all know by now, Ravenous is just absolutely busted with the fact that we can get 40% of our total movement speed as attack speed. So our current bonus is 53.5%. We can get more movement speed with Shadow Step. We can get more movement speed when we have all the Dark Shrouds on us. So this can go up to like 60, 64. I am still missing some movement speed, which will then convert into more attack speed. So we could have a maximum of nearly 70% when I do finalize this build. The next power we are running, Undying. Undying is literally what it says. Undying. You use this Vampiric power, you are going to be undying, especially when you are using Ravenous to give you more attack speed. Every skill you use gives you 3% life. Basic, core, cooldowns, defensive, every single skill is going to give you 3% life. So the more attack speed you have, especially being a rogue, taking a lot of attack speed, we're going to be able to keep our health always topped up. And even if you're in a bad situation, just run away, basic cast like hell, full health, go back in, delete the pack. The next power we're taking is a Cursed Touch. A Cursed Touch is another really strong vampiric power inside of season 2. This lets us apply vampiric curses on a lucky hit. We can also spread vampiric curses at a 15% chance, and also when we dump all the souls or the vampiric curse, it now does 200% increased damage. With other damage multipliers that we do have available to us, these souls just can hit like a truck, man. It's very good for AoE, very good for just wiping screen, very satisfying. I really do like a Cursed Touch. And the thing that goes hand in hand with a Cursed Touch is Prey on the Weak. We now deal 16% times increased damage to vulnerable enemies, and all enemies that are infected with Vampiric Curse are made vulnerable. This is very nice. This basically gives us exploit for free. We don't have to take the exploit glyph no longer. And this also does a better job at that too. And then last but not least, because this is a hybrid poison build, we are taking Flowing Veins. This is going to let us deal 60% time, increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by Vampiric Curse, which we can do very easily with a Cursed Touch. And with Flowing Veins, this is how you're able to build up some really juicy looking poison dots that just nuke bosses, nuke elites, just basically everything inside of the game. It's just really satisfying to see massive poison dots pop up like 2 mil, 3 mil. And now last but not least, time to go over the Paragon Board. Now I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys by explaining the whole Paragon Board. The max roll build planner will be in the description and also as a pinned comment down in the comment section. So go check that out, just copy it. It's that plain and simple. But there is one thing to note: if you do want to change anything with your Paragon Board, if you're someone that's trying to do your own rogue Paragon Board, maybe you don't want to do anything meta, you just want to try and figure out something for yourself, the big tip now is take any glyph and every legendary node you can that is going to give you multiplicative damage bonuses. They thought they could take our multiplicative damage away from us. We got that in the glyphs and the Paragon Board, son. We all good. Now that they've kind of made enemies weaker, we've just taken more multiplicative damage inside our glyphs. And also the legendary node, and we're all good. If anything, we kind of feel stronger than we did before, and we had Barber in season 1, and I still feel like now in season 2 my rogue feels stronger than it did in season 1. That's because we got more armor and the enemies just aren't as strong. Now the first glyph we are taking closer. The main reason I want the closer glyph here is because of the 10% damage reduction. The bonus to cutthroat skill damage isn't really that great anymore, but it is still decent, but that bonus is the main reason why I've taken closer. I've taken the cheap shot legendary node. This is going to give us a nice 25% times increased damage based on how many crowd control enemies we have nearby. Always crowd controlling, always freezing, knocking down enemies. So this is pretty much available 100% of the time. The glyph I have used for this board is the Devious glyph. The main reason we're using the Devious glyph is, again, this gives us a nice bonus to the rare node, which gives us crowd control damage to crowd control enemies. But then also we get a nice multiplicative bonus, which is whenever we hit an enemy with a crowd control effect, they take 2% times up to 10% time increased damage from us from 20 seconds. Like I said before, you want to take as much multiplicative damage as possible, so this is one of the ways we are doing that. The next glyph we are using is the control glyph. This is going to give us a massive damage increase to crowd controlled enemies, and like I said before, because now that they buff close quarter combat, we need to stack as much crowd control damage as possible to give us a bigger multiplicative bonus. And then on top of that nice multiplicative bonus we're giving to close quarter combat, this glyph also comes with a multiplicative bonus, which is we get 10% times increased damage to slowed or chilled, and 20% times increased damage to stunned or frozen enemies. Always freezing enemies, so we're always having this bonus up. I am running Tricks of the Trade legendary node. I know this doesn't really boost poison's damage. I'm still using it because it is going to boost our shadow damage still. I'm not sure if it's still needed. Maybe you guys can let me know that. I've still decided to take it just because we are still using a shadow imbuement, and shadow imbuement does seem to hit the hardest with its raw critical strike damage. Next glyph we are taking is the tracker glyph. Now I do only have this in here because I am still leveling up the canny glyph. I think this is going to be a much better fit inside this board because, again, the bonus is a multiplicative damage bonus to our non-physical damage. So I have got the tracker glyph in here because it's the one that I leveled up to 15 first, and now I'm working on canny. I will have that updated on the max roll build planner. But yeah, I think canny's going to be much better here, but I've only just got tracker here for now. I am taking the Deadly Ambush legendary nodes. It's going to give us 23% times increased critical strike damage to enemies affected by our trap skills. We're dropping poison trap, so those enemies affected by poison trap should be getting 23% times increased critical strike damage. And then for the glyph here, we do have the Turf glyph, which is going to give us increased damage to close enemies. And the bonus is nice because it's going to give us 10% damage reduction against close enemies also. And for the last glyph that we are taking, we are running combat. The main reason we are taking combat is, I mean, the critical strike damage is nice. Again, it's all additive, but the bonus is very handy to just sustain your energy longer when you are using Twisting Blades. And skills that critically strike restore 12% of their energy cost. Twisting Blades is kind of an expensive spender of energy, so getting 12% of that energy cost back is just going to let you use Twisting Blades more, not having so much downtime where you might have to use Puncture to rebuild your energy, and so on and so on. So still a good glyph to take just because of that bonus, but the critical strike damage isn't really needed. It's not really that great anymore. Now, and for the last legendary node, we do have Exploit Weakness. So that is basically it, guys. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the Noxious Ice Rogue build. If you guys do try it out and you do enjoy it, please let me know in the comment section below. It is just really nice when other people can try out your builds and it works for them as well, and they get a lot of success out of it. It's kind of the whole reason why I like doing build videos, just to hear that people are using them and they're working for them and they're able to do bits of content that they couldn't do otherwise. Appreciate all the love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe. Peace out.